What you got?
Well, it's interesting. So when we added the water, I thought it was great neat. We added the water. I'm like, uh-oh.
Here we go.
Milk's going back.
It's a 4.
What is up, everybody?
Hey guys, it is Scotch for Dummies.
4 guys on the Scotch journey to help you with your next Scotch purchase.
I hope it's this one.
I
gosh,
hope
I
it's
do
this
too.
one too.
Well, I don't know. I haven't had this one in a while.
It has
Talk
been
to me.
Well, we've kind of hit a little bit here and there, but
What is this?
I do like some Glendronach.
Glendronach 15 Revival.
Yeah, so say that again. Glendronach
15 Revival.
Revival, right? There's a story behind it
Bottling
also.
in 2022.
Well, yeah, who knows when? I mean, this one's definitely
it's
post
the new bottling,
2018, 19. We can definitely say that. So, quick history of it, so you know what you're looking at when you get out there. Who knows? Maybe you find an old dusty. 1996, they have a 15 out on their core range. The distillery is closed and mothballed. 2008-ish, 9-ish, it comes. They reopened the distillery, new owners. I think it's Ben Riek at the time that bought them. They come out with a Glendronach 15 Revival to commemorate the renovations of the distillery and do this kind of stuff. It's all Oloroso. So the old stuff and that new bottle are Oloroso matured. 15 years in Oloroso. God, that sounds
It was really
delicious.
good.
I mean, yeah.
They discontinue that in 18 because they're running out of the old whiskey, right? It happens. So then they come out a year or two later and they re-release it, Revival, only this time it's Oloroso and PX.
That's right.
So if you know what you're looking for, pay attention to the label. This one literally says, matured in the finest Pedro Ximenez and Oloroso sherry
You're
casks.
probably not going to see too much of the old one.
No,
That
it
was
was
kind
so
of the
good.
big deal when I remember when we were doing this from the beginning and we were like, Glendronach Revival was just a big deal. And then we finally got a bottle and we're like, oh, no, that's the PX. Oh, was there a difference? And so, yeah,
Right.
if you can find the one that's not the PX, good luck.
The
It's
only
a cult classic.
other difference is the original 15, without Revival in its name, was bottled at 40% ABV. This is bottled at 46.
This is 46. And I know it's available pretty readily actually, but it's like $100 maybe?
Yeah, somewhere
Around
around
120?
there. Probably more like 110, 115 now.
Really?
15 years old. The price of Scotch is
I
going
mean,
up,
it's
boys.
going up.
Glendronach
Yeah.
12 is going for like 60 though, right?
No, 70.
Yeah. So this is about one. We're gonna say 120, 100, 120, 15 Pedro and Oloroso.
Right.
Okay.
And that's one thing to know about Glendronach is they
love the sherry.
Yes,
Yes, they
they
do.
are sherry masters.
Voice to the nose.
To the nose.
I can tell you right now, just
man.
looking at the color, it's pretty.
It's got a nice, lovely nose.
It does have a lovely nose.
Subtle.
It's not
Dry-
super pungent.
No,
Oloroso,
it's
is
like
it?
this dry, rich fruit, like dried fig.
It's got
Yeah.
like dried oranges. It's almost a potpourri.
It is.
Of like
Nice
different
word.
fruit. But it's all like dried fruit, right? It's all old and dusty.
Yeah, it is. It does smell like that.
Some spice to it too. I got ginger on the nose, a little bit of nutmeg.
There's a freshness to it though too. It's not like it doesn't smell heavy. I've got some. I've got a ton of Glendronachs at home. I love them, and I'm a sherry bomb fiend. But this one doesn't come off as smelling super heavy to me. It doesn't like it's going to be a heavy, thick drink. There's some freshness and lightness to it.
Yeah, it doesn't. It
Get
doesn't.
you some.
It doesn't smell like syrup. It's not that.
You guys
that
are jumping
sweet.
the gun here. We gotta do nose first, and then okay, tasting. All right, here we
Tasting.
go.
I did the nose. Nose was delicious. Man,
Okay, so this has, I think, from what I remember having it, I would say it's oxidized a little bit, to be fair.
yep.
Yeah, I would. Just what I was thinking. It's got a little bit of like burnt sugar, dark brown sugar.
Sure.
I think that's what when I think of an oxidized kind of sherry. It's more of that kind of
Yeah.
darker flavors.
You can tell, I would say it's
Not as
all,
bright.
it's not as, not as bright, not as clear as what I remember it being, not as Oloroso-y, if you will, not as sherry, right?
Well, not as. I think you lose some of the PX. I think that's likely why you bring the PX into these kind of whiskeys. Is it brightens it up and it's a little sweetness and a little grape and that kind of thing where
Yeah.
it really brightens up the whiskey. Whereas those oxidized Olorosos are richer and darker and heavier and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking It's lovely. To me, it's 12 with a little more love, and I keep 12 on readily available. I actually keep 12 in a decanter at home just because it's a go-to. You can't go wrong with it, right? And this one is just, it's like if 12 was 10 on
it's getting better.
the amp, this goes to 11.
A little more. It's a little more. It is.
Great Spinal Tap. Okay, so this is getting better. It's getting a little bit more pungent on the flavor end and the nose than what it was originally, which is surprising. But it's not as strong as I remember, but it is there. There's a fig, there is some Oloroso, there is a hint of the grape that you mentioned earlier. I think that is maybe probably the PX coming through.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, that's exactly what I was just getting.
Yep.
The more that I taste it, the more I get those flavors punching through. The nose is getting better. The more I smell it, I just kind of want to sit there and smell it.
Yeah.
Like the nose is wonderful. The palate, now that I've had 3 sips now, and on the 3rd sip, like it's making my mouth water. I'm getting a lot more of the fruit notes coming through. But it's got like, I'm getting like the old leather and old tobacco notes.
Yes.
And that's starting to come through. The dark tea, like the old English tea. Which I appreciate and I really like in Oloroso. So I mean, there's a lot of layers, I guess, and a long finish.
Yeah, I think that's the thing I love about this whiskey is that finish has a lot of those more bitter, savory kind of flavors coming through, where it just has when I think of a long finished whiskey, typically I think of a peated whiskey. Well, this isn't peated at all, and it's got that deep, rich, long palate to it.
Yeah, it does. Just as a reminder too, you'll see that we try to do a tasting, and then we do without water, and then with water here, because it really does change the overall whiskey.
And most,
almost always.
I would argue,
sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse.
I think the water brightens it a little bit. So for me tonight, it did anyway.
I gotta say, neat. I love the long-lasting finish on this. This one just stays with me for a long time. I can take a sip of this and enjoy it for minutes afterwards. Like, man, it's there.
Wow.
With the water, it's brighter.
It is brighter.
You know what I mean? Like it's. I don't get some of those deeper, heavier, like
Less
tobacco and leather notes.
Exactly what I was
and
thinking.
it's fruitier, and I get more caramel coming through.
I was gonna say creaminess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think on my palate, I like it neat better. I like those dark leather tobacco kind of flavors coming through. But if that's not your palate, add a drop of water to it, and it sweetens it up for
Yeah.
you.
Lots of different fruits going on.
There's a spice note now that wasn't there before either.
What kind of spice? Like nutmeg, cinnamon, or like ginger?
Like a cinnamon ginger kind of thing, just like a hint of it. But it's nice because it goes with the whiskey. It's not like, because you know how sometimes you get whiskeys and they're like, here's some pepper for you.
Yeah.
You know, and this isn't like that at all. It's very complementary to all the other flavors in there. It's just an added layer.
Finish seems to be much drier now, which is weird.
Yeah.
I added the water and like it was nice and sweet, and then when I fell off the cliff and was like my mouth was dry.
All right, I'll go first, guys. Glendronach 15 Revival here. This is about 100-ish plus 120 bottle, 46
ABV.
46 ABV. I know that this is, we talked about being oxidized. I can tell it's oxidized a little bit, but it's still, the flavor is still there. And I will actually argue that, surprisingly, the water did make it better, which I didn't think it was going to do. It brought out, like you said, it brought out more fruits. It tamed down some of that leather, but that leather was right there still in the finish. It was still right there. You know, it's complex. It's got some of the sherry love I have. My only downside, I think, is probably because of the bottle being empty now, is I'm not getting the PX I was hoping to find a little bit. It's a little missing a little bit, but everything else about this bottle is fantastic. I think the price is, honestly, for a 15-year-old, not bad. Maybe a little bit pricey, but it's available, which is a big plus. They're making it constantly, and it's a foundation. And most people that I know in the Scotch industry will say this is probably, they'd call this a sherry bomb. So delicious, and I'm going to give it a 3.
All right. Yes. Yeah.
Mark, you're up.
All right.
I mean, I really, I enjoy good sherried whiskey, and I think that there are some whiskeys that they over sherry. And to me, if it's too much and I can't actually access the whiskey and get to the whiskey flavor, the sherry should be a seasoning. And to me, this is that, right? It is not over sherried. I can still taste the whiskey and the foundational aspects of it, but the sherry is there to like season it, support it, give it extra depth and dimension. And to me, that's what I like about sherried whiskey. It shouldn't overpower. It should just be there to help along. I'm with you. I think it's slightly oxidized. It was at the tail end of the bottle. So what are you going to do? But the fact that, once we sat with it and kind of, swirled it around the glass, let it kind of open up a little bit and do its thing again, and it kind of refreshed, it was delicious, like absolutely delicious. And the water helped brighten it up, and I got to access some flavors that weren't there neat. So I always love that when you get some extra dimension on the water and it doesn't hurt it at all. So I'm with you. I mean, $110, that's not in everybody's budget, but this is a really nice bottle. And so I'm going to score it a 3.5 as well. I think it's a good solid bottle.
Yes. Not much I can add except for some of my personal opinions on my, my approach to this, my experience. I actually loved it neat, and I loved it with water, and there was a difference between the two. I actually love the fact that I can drink this two different ways, depending on my mood or what I want. I like the fact that it gives me something neat, but yet when I put some water, it changes a little bit. And it's still really great, just a little bit different. And I've got some of those sherry bombs that you're talking about. Love sherry bombs, but yes, you can definitely over sherry a whiskey.
Absolutely.
And it's like, damn it, it looked great in the bottle, but there's not much else I can add to this. I think Glendronach is a solid distillery, and it's didn't miss a beat when Rachel took over, and it's still cranking out. So I a 3.5 easily. And if that's on the high side of your budget, then this is a special bottle for you to have on the bar and share with somebody, because it's that good. You can really treat a special guest. Special shout out to I Whiskey She Wines. I'm using their glass.
Glendronach, they make good stuff. You mentioned the 12 earlier. I mean, we absolutely love Glendronach. So this is a nice special bottle if you can't afford it, but.
Yeah, there's a side story with the aging because of the mothballing in 1996 that you could probably catch in one of our other videos, that maybe if you're interested in it, but hard to find those ones in the 15 anymore, so it's not really worth getting into.
What you got?
Well, it's interesting. So when we added the water, I thought it was great neat. We added the water. I'm like, uh-oh.
Here we go.
Milk's going back.
It's a 4.
No. It really knocked it down for me, and that's what I was concerned with. Is that it lost its complexity and its interest until I let it sit for a little longer, and then the water kind of it mellowed it out, and it figured itself back out, and all that complexity came back up, which I couldn't believe.
Nice.
And so I got to go with 3.5 as well. I was gonna go with the 3 because I'm like, well, it's great neat, but then the water it softens, it falls apart.
He likes tricking us.
But I was really going to go with a 3 until I tasted it when you were giving your final number.
You
I'm
add
like,
more water to it.
yeah, I'm like, what? It came back. How did it do that? So I can't
It's a
complain.
fighter, man. That's
It's a
why.
3.5,
So many
baby.
inappropriate analogies I was going to throw as you were doing that, but I'm just going to be nice.
That's good, man.
Well, listen, guys. Glendronach
Beautiful
15, great whiskey. I think 3.5 is a pretty easy score for all of us to
Yes.
say you should go buy it if you can.
Yeah, it looks like we need another bottle, boys.
Yep.
That's the plan.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
One.